In the studio with me now to talk about anger management. I'm talking with Chris Curry, who you people have probably known from other segments that we have done. Now, Chris is actually a clinical manager of the professional practice and education, but he's brought along a colleague with him who happens to be an emotions regulation caseworker, and that is Matt Schiliesman. That was a long one. Okay, gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Doreen.
So let's get right into this. Now, yesterday, I had a devil of a time with my computer, and I got upset and angry. But I wasn't to the point where I was going to chuck it out the window. But I thought about it, but I didn't. So please tell our viewers, are there many types of anger?
Yeah, I'll let you take that, Matt. What do you think?
Absolutely, yes. Anger itself, the emotion, generally has the same sort of symptoms and signs and reactions from same people, but there's very different reasons that could trigger anger for different people, depending on their experiences in life, depending on how their day is going, how much we've eaten or slept in a given day. There's
Eating
a lot of
has
factors.
something to do with it? Really?
Well, yeah, I get pretty cranky when I haven't had enough to eat in a day.
Oh, I suppose. Okay, I was looking at it the other way, eating too much.
That could be. There's even a term for it, hangry. You've never been hangry? So hungry that you're angry.
Yeah. Okay, so there are different types. So yesterday I was just upset though, right? I wasn't really angry.
Sure. And we look at various levels of emotion in the group. So there's a lot of different ways. Anger is, what most people will relate to. You think of someone who's red in the face or yelling or throwing things. Yeah. There's lots of different forms of anger as well.
Okay.
There's frustration. There's irritation. Those might be lesser forms of anger. Some agitation, perhaps. And then we go beyond anger, and there's things like fury, and there's rage, and there's blackout anger, and all that other stuff as well.
Blackout anger? You're kidding. A person can black out from being so angry?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Loss of judgment. Yeah.
Really? Okay. All right. So give us some of the triggers. What are some of the triggers for anger?
Yeah, so I'd say a good point to make is that not all anger is bad. Anger is a natural human emotion, and we should view it as a signal that something is wrong. So just because you're angry does not mean that there's necessarily a problem. It's a signal that something else in your life needs attention. Could be your relationships, it could be work, it could be school, those kinds of things. So always look at anger as a signal. It's something that I like to think of.
As a signal. Was me being upset yesterday, is that a signal?
It might be a signal that you and technology don't get along too well.
We don't. We don't. We really don't. Yeah. So tell us about the triggers. What can trigger that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sometimes when we're blocked from doing something that we'd like to do, say our computer doesn't start up or we get the wrong password. A lot of the time, impatience might be a factor in our anger.
Okay.
Or perhaps feeling as though we're being threatened by someone or something. There's a threat to our self-worth or a threat to someone related to us, a family member perhaps. Anger comes along and it tells us there's something we'd like to do to change that. It's a motivator. It's something that makes us want to take action in our lives. However, it depends on what actions we take when we're angry.
I was just going to say, sometimes it's better not to take any action and just
Absolutely.
calm.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that is taught in many of our groups, is sometimes it's better to just take a 5-minute breather, go walk around the block, and then come back and have that conversation.
But Chris, if you can't do that,
no, sometimes you can't.
What do you do then?
Well, we teach a lot of other coping skills as well. Timeouts is great. If you can get away, take a break. We teach breathing skills to allow us to calm down and maybe think through situations a little more.
Okay.
We teach skills like muscular relaxation. We also talk about self-talk and how to talk to ourselves when we're angry so that we get a different, more productive result out of things.
So what would I say to myself if I was really angry at someone?
Well, maybe you could start by just taking a couple deep breaths. And we do that using a breathing exercise we do.
Okay.
We would also encourage people to maybe take a step back and say, why am I angry? Because a lot of the time we react to anger and we act instead of thinking, well, what does this actually mean? Or what do I want to get out of this situation?
Right. So if we stop and think about, okay, what did they say to me that triggered me to be angry, right?
That's right.
I'm following you. Then yes, you should kind of break that down and realize it might not be the person that's in front of you that is making you angry. It's something in the past that
Exactly.
makes. I'm following
And that person
you.
in front of you may remind you of something that has happened in the past. So it's not necessarily the situation that's directly in front of you that is the root cause of the anger. So in Matt's group, they help to get to the root causes of the anger and then adjust the negative automatic thoughts around that anger through different therapeutic techniques. And another point is meditation and what we call mindfulness is very helpful in treatment of anger.
I have found that a lot of people don't like meditation. Is there a reason why they cannot calm themselves enough to meditate?
Yeah, I think part of it is perhaps the expectation that meditation is going to fix everything. It doesn't fix everything.
Okay, it just
so
calms.
people I've often heard, I've tried that, it doesn't work.
Yes. Yes.
But it's not going to work if you think it's going to make all your problems magically go away. Meditation is a good tool to get you through that complicated emotion. It's not going to make it go away. It's going to make it a bit more bearable. So when we hear from a client that doesn't work for me, we try to manage their expectations around that.
Okay.
And if meditation doesn't work, we have lots of other things that could.
That could.
Exactly.
Alrighty. To what point should someone seek out assistance from you people?
So I would say if it begins to interfere with your day-to-day life, if it's interfering with your relationships, if it's interfering with your work and school life,
Yes.
and a pretty good indication is if people are telling you that you might have a problem with anger, it's a good idea. Any other suggestions?
Yeah, generally criteria for when anger crosses the threshold from being a functional, helpful emotion to being an unhelpful, dysfunctional emotion. There's a few things. Maybe people in your life are suggesting that anger is something you need to work on or manage better. There's also signs like feeling secondary emotions after getting angry, like feeling guilty or ashamed about our actions. That could be a
really?
sign anger is an unhealthy thing at times. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where sorry comes in. Sorry I yelled at you. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, if you're saying sorry every second day, maybe it's time to
yes.
go see Matt. Yeah.
Do you find that men are more angrier? Men are much more angry than what women are?
Well, I think everyone has that emotion equally. It just depends on how it's allowed to be expressed.
Oh.
And sometimes in our culture and society, certain messages are given to men and women differently about how certain genders may respond to anger in certain situations. So men may sometimes have a bit more permission to be a little more open and projective with their anger, whereas women might find that their anger, if they're expressed openly, it's not as accepted, and they may feel that they need to hold it in or express it in different ways that's less direct.
Did you just refer to silent anger?
I suppose, yes. Often that is a trend with people, is that they hold anger in. Maybe they're afraid of expressing it because of the consequences.
Yes.
Maybe they just think that it's not a good way to feel, or they're not right to feel angry, so they hold it in. But as Chris mentioned, it always comes out at some point again down the road.
Yeah.
We sweep enough stuff under the rug, and it might eventually all come out again.
It has to come out, one way or the other. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in today and sitting down with me and talking about anger management, because it's a factor out there. And yeah, we all do get upset every once in a while. So hey, let's manage it, okay?
Well, thank you for having us. And if anyone wants to get into Matt's program, go to accessmha.ca and look for the emotion regulation program.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.